We'll call to order a meeting of the Salem School Committee of January 5th, 2026, 7 p.m. This meeting is taking place in person at 29 Highland Avenue, room 227 in Salem. You can also join via Zoom using the link posted in the meeting agenda. We do have one member participating remotely, Member Miranda, so votes will be by roll call vote. First order of business is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Do I hear a second from motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Miranda. Roll call vote. Member Cornell.
Yes.
Member Hoffman.
Yes.
Member Miranda.
Yes.
Member Stott.
Yes.
Member Bias.
Yes.
Myself, yes. The meeting agenda is approved. Public comment. The Salem School Committee would like to hear from the public on issues that affect the school district and are within the scope of the committee's responsibilities. Spanish interpretation is available for anyone who needs it. The members of the school committee would like to remind the public that Salem Public School students regularly attend school committee meetings. We encourage all meeting participants to model respectful and productive public discourse for our young learners. Is there any public comment in the room? May I approach the podium? Seeing none, is there public comment in Zoom? Please use the raise hand function if you wish to provide comment remotely. There's no comment. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. These are the minutes of the special school committee meeting of December 22nd and approval of the warrants of December 11th, December 18th, and December 24th.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thanks. Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Stott. Under discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote. Member Hoffman.
Yes.
Member Miranda.
Yes.
Member Stott.
Yes.
Member Cornell.
Yes.
Member Bias.
Yes.
Myself, yes. The matter carries unanimous. Student representatives report. Do you have anything from?
Is Sydney on or?
No?
Okay. Maybe we could come back to that because she said she was going to try to get on. So if she's not able to come back on, then I'll give an update.
Okay. Very good. Superintendent's report.
Wow, that was quick.
How about that? You not ready?
I got to be
I
ready.
can vamp.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
buy some time.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a wonderful break. It was a long 2-week break, which we never have, and I hope it was restful and relaxing. It was nice to see everybody back today. I think everybody was a little sleepy, but that'll wear off pretty soon, and we'll be back to the work we do best. So just excited to welcome everybody back today. It was with the cold, it was hard getting the buses started and getting people started, but we're back in the groove. So I also want to congratulate or welcome our new school committee members, Yamali Baez and Meg Stott, to the committee. And congratulations to all of you that were part of the inauguration, to the mayor and to all members of the committee, and to Vice Chair Cornell. That's a nice new title for you. And it was a really nice event. I also want to highlight that our students were played a prominent role in today's celebration. Witch Pitch was there. We had members of the Youth Commission who are Salem Public School students, and then Leanna Galvin always steals the show, who is the Junior Poet Laureate. She was outstanding and just blown away by her words. And Chris, we'll have to share her poem that she shared today. It's just exceptional and is really a testament to the talent we have in the Salem Public Schools. So, congratulations to everybody that was part. It was a great way to get the year kicked off. I also want to, I don't think I got a chance to offer my congratulations to all those that were part of the performance of the prom. It was an outstanding show. It left me it was a reminder of why I want to work in Salem, the values that the show promotes, and the fact that, again, we have some of the most talented young people in the Commonwealth who are showcasing their ability to sing, dance, you name it, back. What do they call the back show or the crew? Sorry, I'm not a theater person, Mayor. Sorry. I don't have all the lingo, but it was very impressive performance. The last thing I just want to, before we get into the details of tonight's presentation, is there's a letter that will be going out from all our high schools around the competency determination that the school committee voted on at the last meeting. The letter is to families, and it will detail aspects of the new policy, what students need to meet, how students can meet the competency determination at each of the 3 high school campuses. Already, the information is posted on our website in multiple languages, and but we have a responsibility to notify families and students. We'll be also emailing students directly, and we'll also be having the schools find ways to message the information, because they don't. As we've discussed, they don't have to pass the MCAS anymore to meet the competency determination, but we want them to be fully aware of what they need to do to make sure they graduate on time from our 3 different campuses. Is there anything you want to add to that, Kate?
No, you got it.
All right. So we'll be sharing that later this week with families. And with that, we're going to go into a presentation, as promised, about the Carlton and Saltonstall merger. And then we'll have Jill Conrad will be presenting about an HR staffing summary. I will not be sharing information on my evaluation with you. It's now a standing item there to remind myself that I have to get you my self-appraisal, which I will do before the end of January. I think it's best to let the committee sit for at least the meeting. Then I'll share it with probably the vice chair. Well, I'll bring it to the entire committee for review, and then you'll have time to do my assessment sometime before the spring, hopefully. And we do not have an MSBA update tonight, because it was too soon after. Nothing's really happened since our last meeting.
No, I'll just share briefly that we've made some modifications to the building committee. So Member Stott will be participating on behalf of the school committee. And there's a new member of the city council, Councilor Sidoriak, who represents Ward 3, where the Salem High School building is located. Will be the city council representative, and tomorrow we'll be filing the bond order and the order for the special election for the debt exclusion vote for the project with the city council. The bond order is going to take a few meetings to get through because it requires 2 passages from the council. So there will be a committee meeting in between where I think Dr. Zrike and myself and the co-chairs of the building committee will be invited to give a presentation to counselors and talk about the project.
Great. Okay, so as promised, wanted to share a presentation about our work with the Carlton and Saltonstall merger. I want to just indicate, I share that over break, a lot of members of our team have worked on this already. And of course, that's 2 school leaders who are here. I would just want to acknowledge Principal Jellison from Saltonstall and Principal Weaver from Carlton, who will form a very powerful. Well, they're bringing the band back together. They're returning back together. A very powerful team at the newly merged school. And so I want to thank them for being here. And there may be some questions that you want to direct to them this evening. And I will just point out these 2 leaders have worked a tremendous amount over break, communicated with me, and this has now become a full part of their work. And I want to thank them for that. And I'm excited about the work that they're going to be able to do together at the newly merged school. So just wanted to share, let's see if this works here. There we go. Okay. So the presentation that I'm giving tonight is slightly different than what's in your packet. I made some adjustments over the weekend based on some information received. It'll be generally what you have, but you might see some differences, and don't be alarmed about that. So I want to be clear about the priorities. The goal here is for us to create a unified school community centered on our 4 strategic priorities, 4 key priorities, which I aligned here to our strategic plan. We obviously are committed to continuing to elevate student learning. We don't want to see any of the work go backwards in terms of student achievement. Our staff culture is important, and we want to position educators for success in the new environment. So we want to make sure that staff feel like they're empowered around this transition. Culture is incredibly important when you bring 2 school communities together. So we want to build a shared identity that's focused on our core values of belonging. And that is also connected to wanting to make sure that families are involved. We know we've heard a lot from families throughout this process, and their voices are really important. So both the culture for students, staff, and of course the families who are really invested in this being a successful merger. And then, some of the things that we've heard is wanting to make sure that this is a smooth operationally for families, for students and staff. So ensuring that it's safe, welcoming, and that it's well organized. And I do think we have the right leaders to do that at the school to help with the transition. These are not people that just became school leaders yesterday. They have a lot of experience, in Beth Ann and Lauren, and I trust their ability to make sure that this is going to be as smooth a transition for children as possible. Okay, there we go. A little time delay. Some things that we've already done. After this committee took the vote on December 15th, I want to commend the school teams, the staff, the leaders who had restorative conversations at the schools with students, because they knew students would be affected by the news, both in the receiving school and the sending school. And so they took the time to have conversations the next day. As hard as I know that might have been for staff at the schools, they did it for kids, and they stepped up, and we're very appreciative of that. And thanks to the leaders who helped provide guidance and direction. I know Ellen Wingard was also involved in that, so I want to thank her. And then we made a leadership announcement on December 17th that Principal Jellison would be the principal, and the associate principal, which is a new role that we're working on with the SAA, would serve in an associate principal role, given her expertise and her we felt like Lauren was essential to be part of this, given her relationship with the Carleton community and her commitment to the students and staff there. We sent out invites for the transition and innovation committees, which I'll talk a little more about. And then I had a chance to meet with the PTO leadership at both schools, actually multiple times, but before school got out for break and then during break. They've been very communicative with both myself and the school leaders to keep them in the loop in the work that's being done. So the transition and innovation committees, we have the deadline to apply is the 9th, and I'll share a little more about how many applicants we've got in a moment. We're going to try to send out invites no later than January 16th, and we hope that the teams will meet before the end of January. I didn't want to put a specific date, wanted to make sure that it would work for the members. The committee is comprised, or that will be composed of the lead, and so Beth Ann Jellison will lead one of the committees. She'll lead the innovation committee, and Lauren will lead the transition committee. We have two parents, two staff members. We would like to see a school committee member on each of the committees, and we'll have to talk about who that person would be, Mayor. And there'll be a representative from the from the SPS Central Office. Deputy Superintendent Carboni will be part of the innovation team, and Ellen Wingard will be part of the transition team. I'm going to let the school leaders make recommendations on who to select. I think they know their communities best. I don't think that should be my decision. I trust our school leaders to make good decisions about who's best to be on these committees, to be most representative of the communities at large. And I want to be clear, just if somebody isn't on a committee doesn't mean that they won't have input. The committees have been charged, and you'll see this in a moment, with outreach to the larger communities so that they can get input from multiple parents, multiple staff members. We obviously can't have committees of 50 people. We need to make sure that the work can get done in a smaller group. The recommendations will be made to the district leadership and then to the school committee. Some of the things that have to be decided are under the purview of the school committee. For instance, the innovation plan would have to come to the school committee. And so I want to make sure that the recommendations are coming through the school committee and the district leadership as well. But obviously, we're going to listen carefully to the recommendations made by the committees. And there will be a communication from the committees to the larger school communities on a regular basis. Some more information on just the different committees. We have, as of yesterday, 18 people have applied for the Transition Committee and 10 for the Innovation Committee. Some of them are duplicates. And again, Transition Committee is being led by Principal Weaver. I think this committee will want to recommend events, traditions, and experiences that should continue at each school. I've heard a lot from each school community of the things that make the schools so unique and that people value at each community. We're going to want to make sure we hold tight to those. There's definitely a need to have folks come together, tours, meet and greets, community activities. Already the dinner that Salt and Stall had wasn't intended to be a Carlton Salt and Stall event, but a lot of people commented that that was a nice event that could have been used as a way to bring the communities together, just break bread, so we could do something else like that, but that will be the charge of the committee to offer some suggestions. And the committee is also going to want to focus on the social emotional learning supports that are necessary for helping to transition students. Some students will do very well with the transition, others will need additional support, and that's why we have Alan's expertise on there, and we're going to want people to help guide what some of that will look like in transition. And I do think there's some families that could use some support in the transition as well, so we're going to need to set up those supports and systems for that to happen. The Innovation Committee is led by Principal Jellison, who has the most experience with the innovation plan, having been at Carleton before. We want to adapt the continuous progress model for the new context that we have. It's not the same school. It serves a different population of students. We want to make sure it fits the new context, but keeps the strongest elements of the innovation plan present. We're going to have to coordinate with the Department of Education because we're in the midst of a plan right now, but we believe ultimately that the department will want the school communities to drive the process and the school committee to approve that, and I think the department will support, but they'll have to guide us through the specifics around the innovation school planning models, and this is not something that happens very often where two schools come together, one having an innovation plan, so we'll want to work with them. We hope to present final recommendations to this committee before April vacation because we want to get a jump start on the implementation of the innovation plan at the new merged school. And so that's the current plan, is to offer some recommendations to this committee before, April vacation or around April vacation. All right, so next, school naming has been a topic, and as in the letter that the mayor and I sent out to the community last week, or the last week we had school, after the vote, the naming or renaming of schools is in the purview of the school committee. It's part of our policy. Just to be clear, that's not something that was just invented by the school committee now. It's in the policy. The committee, and again, I'm speaking, I guess, here on behalf of the committee, but has been open to renaming and has invited community suggestions that align to our core values. We've already received, I think, close to a dozen recommendations from the community, and we appreciate that. We have extended the application or the timeline here so that people can submit naming ideas before Friday, January 16th. It was the 9th, and we'll notify people that they have more time if they want to submit names. I'm sorry, we have 7 submissions thus far, but I think we've had more come in the last couple of days. And the committee will, I think the plan is, Mayor, to discuss naming at the January 26th meeting. We would like that to move fairly quickly because we have the kindergarten and expo. We will not have a name for the expo, that the first expo, which is in person, which I think, Kate, is what, January 14th, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, we will not have a name then, but it is our hope to soon after have a name that we can start sharing because we want families to know that this school is a real thing. It has a name, and it will, and we're excited about the possibility, but that is ultimately in the purview of the school committee. I don't know if you want to add to any of that. Okay. All right, so transfer requests. We have received questions about transfers, and Laura Saad and Kathleen in our our Welcome Center have been working on this. We are going to offer a transfer period to Saltonstall and Carleton families between January 12th and February 6th. We need to give a couple of weeks to give people time to decide if they want to apply for a transfer. So on January 12th, which is this Friday, we will be sending out a, well, the 12th is not Friday. When is the 12th? The Monday, next Monday, thank you. We will be putting out a letter to families with details about how they can request a transfer. We will give till the 6th, and then we plan to notify families by the 27th of February about the result of their request. We do not have unlimited seats across the district, but what we will provide is a list of the schools and grade levels and what we believe to be the number of seats by grade level. If the number of students requesting a particular grade level in school exceeds the number of available seats, a lottery will be conducted to determine seat placement for families. This is for grades 1 through 5. There's a few details that I want to just make clear and want to make sure the school committee is supportive of this. The siblings will receive preference. I do already know of one situation. There may be others where there's a sibling in another school. It makes sense to try to reunite the families if that's what they want. The socioeconomic targets, we are going to try to apply the socioeconomic targets as well that we have used. I hope to have established those, the school committee to already have established those before we make the assignments. So usually I come to the school committee at the beginning of February, end of January, around the targets. So we hope to have those established for schools, and we would have targets established for the other elementary schools, and we would apply those targets to if we had to have a lottery. And so we will, that is our plan for transfer requests. Again, we hope that most families will stay with their current school communities. We think they chose their schools for a reason. We think that this is going to be an excellent school that's going to offer a tremendous amount to kids, but we do know there's circumstances for families that we've heard of in terms of distance and location that they might want to, or they may not. Some SALT-installed parents may not want the innovation model, and they should have the option to transfer if that's what they choose to do. But there will not be unlimited seats, and we obviously can't go above our caps in existing schools. So that is the transfer request process. Around staffing, this week we meet with both schools and their staff. In the STU will be joining us because the majority of the staff at each school are STU members. We're interested in, of course, we're interested in any questions that staff have, but I will be joined by HR Director Conrad, and we will be asking first for staff to share their preferences with us. What do they really want to do next year? Because while there will be, the majority of staff will be able to stay in the combined schools. Except there obviously are roles that will be eliminated because of the duplication. But we really do want to know there are some staff that may want the opportunity to go to another school in the district. They're professional status, and there might be openings in other schools. Might be the chance to have a change, and we want to learn about that first before we start helping to make placements for people, because that'll free up other opportunities at the merged school for staff that want to stay. And then we have very clear contractual language with our 3 bargaining units that we will use to place people across the district. Again, I feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to keep most of the people here with us, certainly all the professional status teachers and most of the non-professional status, I shouldn't just say teachers, but staff, will have a place in the Salem Public Schools. As I've explained before, we do still have people in schools who are unlicensed, who are on waivers, and those people will have to be replaced by licensed, credentialed staff, who are either, at these merged schools that may want to change. And even at the 2 merged schools, there are staff that are unlicensed as well, and they will not, as we do every year, those people are non-renewed automatically because of their licensure status. We hope to finalize the majority of staffing by February break. That is our goal. We won't be able to, I think, do that in every case, but I think the majority will be able to do. We're going to work hard because we know the uncertainty creates anxiety for people, and we feel a lot of that anxiety right now. So we hope to try to do that, to be able to share that. The information to families also want to know about staff, but I just want to caution that, that is not, we first need to make sure that we're having confidential conversations with our employees before that information is released to the public. Families have to trust that we're going to have excellent teachers and excellent staff in every school. I'm not worried about that. But it is, in fairness to the staff and the employees, they need to have an opportunity to have discussions with us and work with us before anything is released about what the staffing lists are going to look like in every school. What I can tell families is that the majority of the staff, I think, will be there. And it will be there, if they're not there, it's going to be some of their choice, which they have a right to choose to look at other options in the district. But it's not something that we'll be communicating regularly. Once we have it solidified, then families and the community will know what the staffing looks like at each school. All right, almost to the end here, and then I'll open it up to questions. There's a couple of other things that have come up that I just want to make sure we're clear with families. And a lot of this information I will share in a letter to families sometime this week, because not everybody's watching the school committee meeting or will know this information. The bell schedule is going to stay largely the same. The schools basically have the same time, 8:30 to or 8:35. One starts at 8:30, one starts at 8:35. So it'll be either one of those days. I know Lauren is pitching for an earlier day. But it will depend a little bit on the bus schedule. But the school will stay at the same tier, which is the 8:30, 8:35 tier, because that's where both schools are right now. We have closed school assignment at Saltonstall and Carleton right now for the remainder of the school year. So I just want to be clear that because we want to watch numbers, we're trying to make sure we want the school to eventually go to a 3-strand, 3 classes per grade school. We want to control enrollment for the remainder of this year and probably into the summer. We will only enroll 3 kindergarten classrooms for the 25-26 school year. That should be the 26-27 school year. My apologies. Not 4. So it will be 3 classrooms. And we probably will be adding an additional kindergarten to another school in the district. It will likely be Horace Mann, because we're trying to have as many schools be 3-strand schools as possible in the district. The class composition, we've gotten a lot of questions about this, but we think it's best, and the recommendation of the school leaders is that the school will include a balance of students, that the classrooms will include a balance of students from both schools, that you won't have like Carleton classrooms and Saltonstall classrooms. We don't think that that's good for the school community. That question's been asked, so I wanted to be sure we clarify that. Traffic and parking. I know that the PTO at Saltonstall has been very involved with the city about issues with traffic and parking, and this is a conversation I'll have with the mayor more extensively about some of the traffic concerns that exist at the school and parking, which we know has been there have been questions. So we'll work with the city on that. I mean, again, the school had roughly the same number of kids just last year and previous years. That doesn't mean that there aren't issues with traffic and safety around the school, and that's something that I know the city's committed to working with us around, and we pledge to come back with that information. Before and after school programming, want to be very clear. We are going to expand the number of seats because the school is growing. We also are committed to having a before-school program because both schools have a version, some have a before-school program. We will continue to have that, and we will have an after-school program as well that's more robust because we have more kids that are going to need that support. There is a process, and Deputy Superintendent Carboni will be leading that with our partners because there are contracts that we have with vendors who provide the services. One works with the Y, one works with Boys and Girls Clubs. So we do have to sort that out. So I can't tell you exactly who the organization is going to be, but Kate is already convening our after.
Today.
Oh, met today. So it happened already. And we are going to be, before we share details about who the partner is, what I can tell you is there will be programs for kids because we know families desperately need the before and after school care. In terms of class size, I want to be clear, we'll remain consistent with the current caps around the district. If the district changes its caps, then this school will change its caps. But otherwise, we are maintaining the caps that we currently have. And then, of course, services, 504 and IEP services will continue to be followed. I think we have to continue to say that because I think people have questions and concerns. We'll continue to maintain the sub-separate programs that both schools have. That is in the plans for the new merged school. So the next steps for us, I did say there'll have to be a communication to families with a lot of this information because some of this is new, and we want to make sure everybody has this, staff and families. The district executive team has already extended its bi-monthly cabinet meetings to include more time to talk specifically about this merger. Every single one of the people sitting at that table has a role in making sure that this goes well for the district, whether it's special education or human resources or family engagement or technology. Every single person here is part of this. And so we want to dedicate our time. We'll have a project plan that we'll be reviewing and monitoring our progress around the implementation. It starts now. It doesn't start the day school gets out. Some people in the audience may know when that day is, but that is too soon to be thinking about this merger. We need to be talking about this right now for it to be successful. I will plan to give monthly updates to the school committee. Some months will be longer than others, but there'll be updates on progress. I've been asked by the mayor and asked by school committee members to do that. We will also provide updates on the merger savings that we expect. We had a meeting over break, so we have some preliminary numbers that are a little higher than we had projected, just as we had explained to the public during the public meetings we had. And we've already talked about capital investment. The need to support the merger with some one-time capital investments. That's a conversation we've had, and we will have, and the school committee will have, as you look at the proposed capital budget, which will be at the end of January, Elizabeth? Okay. And then success metrics. Those are going to be really important, especially through the fall, to look at academic achievement, attendance, conduct, our student, staff, and family perception data. So if there's other things the school committee would like to see, I'd like to hear that from you as well, or that the public would like to see to monitor the progress of the school and how it's going, especially as it comes together in the fall. We do want to put together some FAQs for families and have a place on our website where there can be some information. So we'll be working on that, and progress updates will continue, obviously, throughout the spring. But I do want to make sure that questions go through the school leaders. I think people need to know. I mean, we have two people that know their school communities very, very well. They're trusted by their staff and the families at each school. And I think it's important that questions be directed to them, and then they know how to find me if there's questions that they can't answer. But I trust their answers to many of the questions that families are going to have and staff are going to have, and I want to empower them because they have the most, the community has the most access to the school leaders, and I know, I'm confident that they will be able to help answer any questions that people have, and we'll be in constant contact between now and the opening of the new school. And with that, I'll just end with a quote from Mr. Rogers, everybody's favorite. Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. And I really feel the more I had a chance to think about this over break and reflect on this is an exciting time. This is a school. This is an opportunity for us. If we want to dwell on all the things that could go wrong, then maybe it's not going to be the best experience for kids. But if we focus on the opportunity that we have to create a new, larger school with more programs, more experiences for kids, with a powerhouse group of educators, this is a school that can be the envy of every other school in Salem, done right. And I think these are two school communities with an excellent track record, who have proven over time. They have long histories in this community. I don't see any reason why this can't be successful. And I do believe that we all have to be messaging to kids that this is the case, because this is an exciting time for them to get to new kids, to meet new students. It's how students feel when they come to Collins. Everybody's a little nervous before they come. But then they come and they realize, wow, there's a whole group of new people, new teachers, new students. And by and large, the experience is really positive for young people. And I think that is going to be the same case here, to open up a new experience for so many young people at a school where they're going to be able to connect with new faces and some of the most dedicated staff that we have in the city of Salem. So with that, I turn it back over to the committee with questions, any feedback that you might have for me and the rest of my team.
Open up to questions from committee members. Member Hoffman.
Have you spoken to the nursing staff about what they might need for this and how they're going to talk with their community for all that's involved with all of that?
Yep, I've had a conversation with our nursing director, Jane Morrissey, and who is really second to none. And she's exceptional, and she has some, I'm not ready to share like some of the preliminary ideas yet, but she has some really strong, Ellen, I don't know if you want to add to that, because I know you oversee, you work with Jane, but I know that Jane has some ideas and plans. She really wants to look at the needs of the children at each of the schools before she comes back with some like increased clarity about the nursing needs that they'll have.
And just to add that once there's a process in place with the resources, SBU, and then looking at that, following that process.
If you can use the microphone up here, if anybody has any.
You want me to come up?
No, I think I can just say that. Well, yeah. Do you want to come up and just say this?
Sorry, just for the benefit of
Yeah.
the audience at home.
We've talked because nursing staff are not the
Just
only.
talk in the microphone there.
Not the only student support. It's like I'm first time at the rodeo.
New year.
We have lots of student support staff that we need to be looking at, and so, you know, we're going to work with HR and STU around what the process will be, finding out where people want to be, and then go from there. I think we have lots of scenarios in our head, trying to figure out what's going to be best for kids. So we'll have transition meetings between staff if they change, things like that. So that'll be all part of what Lauren and I work on through our plan.
Yeah, and as I said in the different community meetings, it's not so easy to just say, this is what we're going to do. We have very specific children with specific needs. And so, you know, that's why Jen and special education are going to want to weigh in very specifically. It's not so easy to say, this is the model we're going to have at this school. We really have to get down to the individual student level and what the needs are before we can say. And that's why we needed all this time before the start of the school year to make thoughtful decisions. This is not like a flip of a switch. This takes a lot of time and energy and planning to do right. So, and especially because we know there are involved students at every school that need specialized supports.
Member Stott.
Thank you. First, say thank you for the work put into this over the break. I know it was not easy, and a lot of effort has already been put into this plan that is going to require, as you just mentioned, a lot more effort. But I am excited about what can come of this. As a former Carleton parent, I know that there is a powerhouse team over there, and the larger school, I think, is an exciting next step. My only comment on the presentation tonight, data. So success matrix, I liked that you're tracking that. I would love to add in transfers, like if there's any in and out of districts for both students, staff, et cetera.
Yep.
And then another item would be class composition. So one of the concerns in that whole matrix that was looked at many times of merging the two schools was, I think it was like tight fit or tight space. So how that kind of falls. What those numbers end up being, I think would be really good to know. And also just kind of keeping that idea of tracking metrics as we go along, something that can be malleable and change throughout the time, because I'm sure we're going to come up with other items. And then finally, communication. So I like that there will be team meetings and monthly updates to the school committee, but if perhaps that website that is already existing can be transferred into something of a way to communicate out the plan to the community going forward.
Member Cornell.
I'm sure that this has been part of the conversation because I know all of the administrative team who is part of this merger, but I just want to. I'm curious about where the student voice will come from. You know, you said we've got sort of parents, some of the same parents are volunteering to be on both committees. And I think, as always happens in situations like this, you kind of have the same players who are able to lend their time in some way. So I just want to make sure that we're engaging our high needs kids in these conversations, our English learners, our students with disabilities, our low income kids whose parents may not be represented and caregivers may not be represented on those transition teams. And we have talked quite a bit about the fact that the demographics of those two schools are quite different. And I think I would like a sort of thoughtful approach to how we engage those students and merge those two communities when we do know that demographically they're quite different.
Yep. Can I just comment on that? I do think you make a good point about student voice, just generally in this. I think we've got to. I will rely on the school leaders because I know they have leadership groups at each school, but it's important that we hear all voices in this, and I think that's why our selection of who's on the committees and then the way we get information out to families is going to be really critical throughout this whole process. But I do think one of the things that's lacking from my presentation here tonight is the student voice of this, because students do have a lot to say, especially kindergartners have a lot to say too. So we need to be cognizant of that, especially the kids that are moving from Carleton to Saltonstall. Like, you know, I'm sure have a lot of questions, and we've got to make sure we honor that. So I thank you for pointing that out.
And if I could just add, and I do have so much faith in both of you and your familiarity with the community and your ability to outreach to parents and to kids. But I just want to, if we can really prioritize having Spanish-speaking parents on one or both of those committees and just really do as much outreach as possible. That's an important part of the equity process, is to really get out and make sure that we're doing the outreach and not waiting for our Spanish-speaking families to come to us.
Yeah, and just to Mayor, I would put back on to you. I think identifying a school committee member to be part of these teams would be really important, so that that's another way of looping the school committee in to what the work is. So just want to remind you of that charge.
Okay.
All right.
On it. I have a couple of questions and then just a comment. I'm glad you mentioned the success metrics, Member Stott. I wanted to add, I think it might be valuable to make sure we're tracking those beyond the fall, like all the way through the end of the school year, and particularly, what are we comparing them to? Are we comparing them to the other elementary schools? Are we comparing them to Saltonstall and Carleton the previous year, or the previous grades of the previous year? So just so there's something relative to, I think, benchmark it against. And maybe we can have a separate conversation about this, but when we get to the socioeconomic target setting in February, how is that going to work for the new school? Thinking about the compositions of the old schools.
Yeah, I mean, we would create a new
Set of targets.
A new set of targets based on the new population of the new demographics of the merged school. We wait until we get the October 1 data. That's how the district has always. And Jill's the resident expert because I think she started this over 10 years ago, Jill, in her first tenure with the Salem Public Schools. But it's based on the October 1 enrollment data, which has not come out yet, the final numbers. And so we'll use Saltonstalls and Carletons from October 1 of this year to drive the targets for the new school.
And my last one's more of a comment, and I've mentioned this too. I think we should probably be especially thoughtful about supports for the Carleton fourth graders because they're going to be going through two buildings changes in the course of 2 years as they move to the new school and then move to onto middle school. So it may be worth thinking about tracking success metrics and supports for them all the way through sixth grade as well.
For the current fourth graders, yeah.
Member Cornell?
I'm sorry, I just had one more. This is a question for Steve. When we're thinking about the lottery for transfer placement, in district transfer placement, if we, I don't know how to word this, will we leave seats open in other schools in order to maintain socioeconomic balance rather than get another school sort of out of whack? I'm particularly thinking about Bates and Witchcraft, which are still within the range that we designate. But if we, I don't want to get into a situation where we have parents choosing those two schools and then we tip that balance, so that we're creating another imbalanced
Yep.
school in the district. So I'm just wondering if you've thought about that, either, how to manage that internally or communicating that out, or if you've identified that.
Well, we have never applied the targets to transfers mid-year. I mean, not mid-year, in the summer. So this is actually a step to trying to create a more equitable balance in the other grades, more than we've ever done before, because families have been able to transfer over the summer, and we have not applied the socioeconomic targets previously. This would be new. For the fact is that we don't know what the number of people that are going to request transfers, but because it will be a larger pool, and we're giving them priority also over any other transfers. We're going to do this for the first. We're proposing to do this, so it actually, I think, is a step towards creating more equity than we have before with transfers. We'll continue to apply the targets with kindergarten, as we always have, but we've never applied the socioeconomic targets to transfers. This will be the first time that we do that.
Good.
This might be something that we talk about in policies.
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it is worth talking about what that looks like in policy for all transfers.
Member Miranda?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for this presentation. I just wanted to ask, because one of the things that I've heard time and time again from Carleton families and from other families in the district was centered around belonging, specifically for trans kids. And so just want to raise up that hopefully in some of the surveys that go out to families and staff and kids there's some specific language around belonging and connection for our LGBTQ plus students.
Yeah, no question. And I mean, again, this is a strength of Carleton's that, Beth Angelison was part of leading when she was the principal there, creating a culture where everybody feels like they belong. And I know it's something that has been carried over to Saltonstall. And this comes down to two leaders that I know have been firmly committed to creating environments where all kids feel connected. But that's a good flag because we've heard that over and over about the concern that families have about switching schools or going to a new school because of how how connected they feel and how respected students feel at Carleton. But I have the utmost confidence in the leaders to create that community in the newly formed school because they have a track record of doing it in their prior work.
Mayor, may I respond?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to add, yeah, I do too. And I should have stated in my original statement that as I was trying to look for some of the data around this when this was brought to our attention, I realized that I couldn't find any statewide or on our own website. So going forward, I think it would be helpful for us to have maybe some specific questions in any of the other surveys that we have, like district-wide.
Yep. Thank you for that suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on this update? I think as Dr. Zweig mentioned, this will be a regular feature of the meetings, at least on a monthly basis, unless we feel like we want more information at any point. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'll just want to mention to the committee that I'll be providing you with the list of recommendations that the community has provided on naming, so that you have that right after it closes on the 16th and that you have a chance to review that in advance of the next school committee meeting on the 26th. So with that, our next topic is HR and staffing. We typically, and I want to thank those of you that don't have to stay here, you can, or thank you to Principal Jellison and Principal Weaver. The every year we do give an update on staffing and our staffing data. This is a little later than we normally give it because I think we've done it in November, December. But we were busy with other topics this November and December. And but it's important that you have an update on where we stand with our staffing, information retention, diversification, and we definitely still have work to do. And Jill is here to give you an update, and you have a copy of the presentation in your packet.
Thank you. Will you advance the slides for me, or do you want to give me the?
I'm going to hand you the clicker to do that, Jill.
Thank you, Superintendent Zweig and members of the school committee, and welcome to the new members. My name is Jill Conrad. I'm the Executive Director of Human Resources, and I'm excited to share this information with you tonight. I oversee the team of HR professionals. We have an HR manager and an administrative assistant, so we have 3 of us in the office doing this work. So we're going to go ahead and just give you a sense of what we do. There's a lot of things that we do that'll, a lot of people, there's the obvious things like hire people and sometimes fire people, but there's a lot of things that we do every day, a lot of transactional work that keeps us very busy all throughout the year. You can see all the numbers here, but just to highlight a couple of things, we do all the background checks of not only the employees, which have to have their background checks renewed every 3 years, but also all of the parent volunteers throughout the district, which is a lot, as well as student teachers, contractors, and something new in recent years has been we have our 3rd shift adult education program at the high school through the CTI grant. So we do the background checks for them as well, issue all of the badges. We are also, as of this year, playing a more active role in coordinating the placement of our student teachers and pre-practicum students with our higher ed partners, as well as a growing number of student interns who are working in different roles throughout the district to gain some work experience. So the work in HR continues to grow and expand, and it's actually kind of fun. So I'm happy to answer any questions either along the way or we can wait till the end. So, going to the next slide. Let's take a look at the new hires. We do this every year, and this gives us a sense of what's the new talent that we're bringing into the district. We do our best every year to recruit highly qualified educators to work in Salem. This year, we've hired 143 new hires into the district during this time period from July 1 till right about now. Most of them are teachers and paras. The chart on the left shows you the breakdown percentage-wise in terms of the types of new hires, in terms of their bargaining unit group. The bar graph on the right shows you the new hires by school. I just want to also point out that the non-union category also includes at least half of that is daily substitute teachers, long-term subs, part-time tutors, or athletic coaches as well. So some of those are very part-time people. The next slide gives you a sense of the quantity or magnitude of new hires that we bring in each year, going back 4 years now. So comparing with previous years, we're about 20 fewer new hires this year than we had last year, which makes sense because we did have some budget cuts last year. And you can take a look at that in terms of the breakdown. The colorful slide there breaks down the new hires by bargaining unit group. We also process a fair number of staff transfers every year, and this number continues to be pretty high each year. This is quantifying all transfers, whether it's moving from, an elementary teacher who's teaching grade 1 in one year and then moves to grade 3 in another year within the same school, or it could be teachers moving from one school to another or other staff members. My favorite, of course, is when we have, for example, a paraprofessional who has earned their bachelor's degree and is working on licensure, and then we have an opportunity to promote them into a classroom. And that hints at the kind of pathway work that we're looking to highlight and emphasize going forward. Resignations, the number of resignations each year gives us an indicator of, I guess, the sense of belonging within the district or within the school. And I'm happy to say that we are seeing a decline in the number of this sort of voluntary resignations of people. So that's bodes well for our goals for retention. Especially what I've seen in the last 2 years is a sharp decline in the number of mid-year resignations. This year we've hardly any this year. Oh, he hates it when I jinx things. Sorry. I'm a lucky charm. All right, the next slide. Teacher retention. All right, this slide needs a little bit of. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm guessing this doesn't include retirees, right?
No, just voluntary resignations. You can see the retirees on that by the numbers page, 21 from the past December to December. And I can give year-to-year comparisons if anyone's interested on any of these by the numbers too, which is kind of interesting to look at, but I was only allowed 10 slides for tonight. I don't know, someone said that. I could give more if you want. All right, so the teacher retention data slide requires just a little bit of explanation because what you see here, we're going to start with the chart on the left. This is DESE published data, which really lags by almost 2 years in a way, because the number for the 24-25 school year is a 78.7% retention rate for teachers, and that represents teachers who were employed October 1, 2023, and then still employed in Salem October 1, 2024. DESE does not yet have published the retention rate for the October 1, 2024 to October 1, 2025, this past year. Okay, but I have calculated it based on our own data, and it's up to around 85%-ish. I say ish because the DESE data is also based on state-reported personnel, and that does not include all of our employees. It's an estimate, but it's important. It's an important measure, and it should be coming out. This data was just published April 2025, but it was reported by us to them in the fall of 2024. So it takes DESE a while to pull together all the data from each district and publish these reports. So we would expect the next time DESE will publish this to be sometime this spring, somewhere between February and April for 2025. In the meanwhile, we have to rely on our own internal calculation, which we're working on some ways to improve our ability to provide that information on a click of a button basis at the request of our superintendent, who wants this data more regularly, which is great. So I hope everyone understands how this data is put together. If not, we can talk about it some more. But the chart on the right gives us an opportunity to look at how Salem over the years compares with the statewide average. So our retention rate is not quite as high as the average across the state each year, but we've kind of closed a bigger gap in 22-23. We've kind of closed that gap in the last couple of years, and I do think it will be even better this next time around. So I'm looking forward to that. Now keep in mind, that retention rate includes all districts, and for the statewide average, all districts in Massachusetts, not all of which are urban districts with the kind of turnover that we do experience. Any questions about this before I move on? Okay. All right. Our strategic goals in our strategic plan that pertain to human resources is also our greatest staffing challenge, and that is closing the gap between our students of color, which are about 62% of our students of color, and the teachers of color that we are able to hire and have in their classrooms. And so right now, we have about 14% of our teachers are teachers of color throughout the district. We were closer to 15% last year, so there was a little bit of a drop. But we're, you might think of that as relatively flat. And we have improved since, say, 2018 to 19, when we were all the way back to 7%. So we've about doubled our percentage of teachers. This is specific to actual teachers of color during that time. You can also see the teachers represent, they are the red line at the bottom of that slide. And then, excuse me, the blue line is all staff of color. That's 25.5% right now. Our paraprofessionals, which does include all of our PSRP members, not just the paraprofessionals, but everyone in that unit, is about 37.5%. So we do have a little bit more there, which if we think of investing in our pipeline into teaching, that is an opportunity for us. Any questions about this?
Could you clarify when you say able to hire people of like teachers of color?
Can you repeat
You
that?
said you were able to hire. What do you mean by able to hire people of color?
Well, I think I just mean that we're being a lot more intentional in our efforts to expand our outreach and to promote our job opportunities with individuals who have the characteristics that we're looking for and the background. Yep.
Yeah, can I just jump in on this? This is the biggest challenge we have, as Jill said. We've stagnated in this area, and I think and Jill will talk more about this in a second. This does keep me up at night because we've seen the benefits of a more diverse staff over. We saw a big bump, from 2018-19 to. Just after COVID. COVID allowed us to, we hired a lot of people on waivers. We were able to be more flexible. And that brought an influx of diversity into the district, which was a great thing. What's been hard is to support people to get their credentials, keep them employed because of some of the requirements, frankly. But we also have to improve. And I believe Jill and I were talking about this today. It's going to be a long game now. I think we've plateaued. If we want to break through that, we're going to have to invest in our own people, our own students, our own paras, our own folks that work in the after-school programs and the community organizations in Salem. People are not going to drop, in from other places because everybody's trying to hire more diverse staff. So we have to develop our own people, and I think Jill will talk a little bit about that, what it looks like. That's a bit of a long game now, in my opinion, because developing our students to come back takes time. Developing paras who may not all have their, their bachelor's, which unfortunately is a gatekeeper for getting people in. And the union has been great partners with us. I think they're as committed as anybody to trying to do this. But it is an area that I hope the committee will continue to push us on because, we flatlined here over the last couple of years. So,
Yeah.
Turn it back over to Jill.
Yeah.
Member Miranda has a question or comment.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I think I'm looking at the numbers correctly. I'm still seeing, I kind of just want to call out the significant growth from 2020-21 to 25-26 that I'm seeing with some of these numbers here. So thank you guys for putting this together. What have we learned specifically that we need to improve on, if we have some idea of that, in order to improve retention for staff of color?
Well, Dr. Zweig just mentioned the issue of licensure, and that's been a huge one. While the opportunity to bring people in under the emergency licenses was a great way to get people through the door, I think the volume and magnitude that we had people working here in that capacity without the level of support to really provide them day to day in the schools to actually take the steps to get the licenses, or to support them as new teachers, things like that. It was a bit overwhelming at a time when we had a lot of vacancies in the district 3-4 years ago. And so I think what we've learned from that is that we can bring people in who are not licensed and work with them to support them, but we've learned the kind of support that they actually need in order to be successful. And to work in partnership with the schools and the school leaders and the academic team, the teaching and learning team, and so on. That's one thing. I think in our hiring process, it needs to be, we go through a kind of a check-in every year with our school leaders and hiring managers and Laura is involved with this, to kind of, at this point, because we've had the same principals for a while, reminders of how to approach the hiring process in an unbiased way, so that there's more openness to recruiting staff of color and more outreach to try to find people. That's an area that we can always improve on. We do need to move beyond just posting what we have in our own posts. We have to be more proactive in spreading the word in other communities and things like that.
Do we have folks who have anti-bias training who sit on hiring committees?
Mm-hmm.
So is that like a
Yeah.
mandate for all hiring committees?
So
It'd be hard.
So you mean if they're recruited into a hiring committee at a school level, are they also given the anti-bias
No.
training?
I mean, if you're doing the hiring,
Mm-hmm.
I only know how hiring of teachers went at Carleton when I sat on a few of them as a parent representative.
Yeah.
So I guess at my university, we had this sort of mandate where certain members of the university had anti-bias training, and somebody with anti-bias training had to sit on every hiring committee.
Oh.
And so I'm wondering, I know that's a heavy lift. It was really hard for us, even just in a university, so I know that would be a heavy lift for school district, but do school districts do that? Is there any precedent for that kind of thing?
Well, we give the training every year to principals, and they form the hiring committees, and there's a toolkit that's been put together for them to access a set of resources. The extent to which they actually use it is, I think, a question, and may vary by each individual. Okay. Maybe, I don't know if Deputy Superintendent Carboni wants to add some thoughts to that.
I would just say we did significant work with TNTP around exactly that. So we had a grant a few years ago, and we did extensive training with all our hiring managers, not just principals, but our department heads as well, because often they are leading. I lead teams as well. And so we do have the toolkit. And then I think what Jill said, that we have train the principals, and there's the toolkit. But there is probably some variance across how that's implemented. And it's probably worth us, reflecting on that and thinking about, some way to monitor that more closely.
I think there's two other things I just want to add to Veronica's question, which is getting the word out about Salem itself and how diverse it really is important, because a lot of educators, particularly those who are licensed or in a track to be licensed, are coming from more urban communities, whether it's Somerville or Boston or Chelsea or something like that. And they don't always think of Salem as a very urban or diverse place, they're surprised often when they find that out. And so that's something that is part of the story we need to continue to tell, so that candidates of color feel comfortable and want to come here. So that's one thing. The other piece is the retention piece, which is the sense of belonging once they get here. We can't give that short shrift at all. That's really, really important to be able to retain them. Dr. Zeig, I know you had your hand up.
I think Kate's right. I think we have some work to do around refreshing. Laura and I were talking today about this very thing, about training. We did also a lot of work with the equity imperative a couple of years ago, but it's time to rethink about, what's the next iteration of our work. So I don't think that's a bad idea to do that, Member Cornell, so thank you for raising that. The other thing I think is what I've seen in the last couple years, and Laura and I have talked a lot about this too, is there is a very distinct difference in our schools in the cultures that allow for retention of staff of color. It varies by school right now. I would have said when I first started here that it wasn't a healthy climate everywhere. No, I shouldn't say everywhere. It was more, we struggled across multiple schools. I think now we have some schools that are places where I think staff of color do feel very supported. I'm reporting what I'm hearing and what Laura and I have discussed, and then other places where that's not the case. And so we need to spend, I think, more time supporting, right, schools who do not have yet the culture, because we see staff of color burning through there more consistently. And in other schools, we actually see the opposite. And we have some pockets of success that we can look at as models for other schools that we really have to look at. So that's the current work. It is very, it is not, it is very distinct, and each school community is in a very different place.
Yeah.
And Laura, feel free to add to anything I just said as well, but, okay, thank you, Laura. All right.
It's a thumbs up from
Yeah,
Laura.
okay.
Member Hoffman? Oh.
I'm wondering if maybe we switch from the word diversity to inclusion. I think we do really well on the diversity piece, but the part we miss is the inclusion piece. And I think that goes for our families of color and also our LGBTQ community as well, as feeling welcome and safe and secure. And it's not that we don't try, it's just sometimes you don't get it right. And I think inclusion is what we should be looking to start focusing on versus the diversity piece.
Well said.
Member Cornell?
At some point, 'cause I know you have all this data, but I would love to see this slide broken down like as granularly as you can get it, by school, by role. I think this tells a particular story, but like I tend to think maybe, I would imagine that Bentley is sort of carrying the load. A lot of our teachers of color are at that school, so it's not telling the full story about what the district staff actually looks like. So yeah, as granular as you can get it would be great.
That's actually in the plans for this year, for sure.
We'll need more slides, though. So.
I might need more slide allotments.
Joe, we have that data because you had given it to the schools, I think.
Last year.
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
Member Miranda?
But yeah, I mean, it's easy enough to produce. But that is one of our areas of focus for this year, with the some new abilities that we're going to have due to some grant money to really build out a more robust data system around all this staffing data. One of the challenges that we've perennially had in the human resource space is we've got multiple systems with pieces of the data, and then a lot of the data just in the file, not in a system at all. So it's not easy to do some of the analysis we want to do. So we're solving that. Thank you, Mark, for your help with that, and others. So that's a goal for this year.
Member Miranda?
Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you. I just have two quick points. Just wanted to highlight, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Dr. Zreich, made super, really great points about kind of hiring from within. And I'm wondering, kind of seeing this as an opportunity to more intentionally connect this to our guidance counseling at the high school, and wondering if at some point in the near future we can hear more about that, and how that's going. And then the second thing was, I guess this is kind of like a question, but acknowledging that mistakes and things will happen where a person of color is leaving feeling like the impact of microaggressions, and things like that, and wondering if we have sort of like a restorative justice type of atmosphere for adult conflicts as well.
I think, so to your first point about the work at the high school, when we say we've been using the word grow your own to talk about the idea of starting with our current high school students, generating interest among them to pursue education as a career, and then providing support for them along the way. We do have the early college high school program. We have CTE education as pathways, and we have some new pathways that are coming down the line. So we are very intentionally looking to kind of weave all these different pathways together in a more coordinated, coherent strategy for the district. So that's definitely something that we're pursuing. To your second point, in terms of when things happen, whether it's microaggressions or other kinds of things that get reported to us, and I would say we do have a restorative way of approaching them. I collaborate with Laura Assad when things are brought to our attention, and there are times when a restorative approach is taken, and then sometimes there are times when a different approach is taken. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. The next slide just takes a deeper dive into the diversity or inclusion of our new hires that we brought in. The main point of this slide is to show that we are increasing the overall numbers of new staff members who are more diverse than in the past. However, when you look at the breakdown by roles, we have more work to do when it comes to actual licensed teachers and those who are directly in the classroom. So that's really where the focus needs to be. And so the next slide delves more into the retention of our staff of color. And this is all based on our own internal data calculations. So we are seeing improvements for the past 3 years, which I'm really happy to say. Our strategic plan goal is 85%. So for teachers, we're this year at 79.7%. And our administrators, we've also seen an improvement there as well as paras, pretty much across the board on that. But still work to do to get to our 85% goal. Questions?
Maybe for next year's presentation on this, it would be helpful to see this retention rates for all staff in the same years. I guess it's on this previous chart, right?
It's on the earlier one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it should be in the same one as we.
Yep. Just as a reminder on that, though, it's 25.5%. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not that.
No, not
I'm sorry.
yeah.
That's the wrong thing. That's the percentage of staff of color. I think I had that in a different.
So,
I didn't put it in a slide, but I have it right here.
so Salem for 24 to 25.
82.2% retention for all staff. That's all staff overall, not staff of color.
And that's not just teachers, that's all staff.
Right.
Yeah.
And retention of all staff of color is 79%. But yeah, next year I'll put that in the slide. All right. All right, so looking ahead, I've already talked a little bit about the pathways So we are in the process of hiring a coordinator who is we have a grant that we received. We were very fortunate to receive the Registered Teacher Apprenticeship Program grant, which is for us focused on special education, where we have teachers who are serving as journey worker teachers, mentors, full-time, with apprentices who are paras full-time. Those paras are just beginning to go back to school to pursue their degrees, and a very structured opportunity over the next 3 years for them to become fully licensed in special education. So we're really excited about that program. We're one of, I think it's 8 districts in the state who were selected to be part of this program. And it's also affording us an opportunity to connect those dots across all the other pathway programs where we have various initiatives that have gotten started, but we have some gaps to fill. Like, how can we make sure that those pathways are not leaky pipelines, but actually continuously help support people along the pathway to the end result? So that's very much what we're going to be working on. We also want to build on some of our successes in terms of our hiring processes. I want to highlight our partnership for cultural exchange that we have started with the Dominican Republic. This year, as you may recall, we were able to recruit 2 teachers from the Dominican Republic to come here on J1 visas. They're here for 3 years, and they are teaching at Bentley School right now, and we hope to replicate
You have
that.
one at the high school. I mean, we have a J1 teacher at the high school as well, right?
That's a different program from Spain. We also have a J1 program with Spain, and then we do have a teacher here on an H-1B visa from the Philippines at the high school as well. So we've tried to open up our international, our international recruitment to support our goals and to fill vacancies that were hard to fill otherwise. But in this case, the Dominican Republic partnership is not only about recruiting the teachers, but it's also about really establishing a cultural exchange and being able to gain the benefit of learning all of our teachers learning more about the backgrounds of our students, where they come from and what they experience before they might move here. Let's see. I already spoke about the data system. We'll be working on that, continuing with the other supports for training about hiring, anti-bias, and so on. And that's it. It's a lot of work to do, but we're excited to get started or continue. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. I think my voice is just about done anyway. Thank you. Happy New Year.
All right. Even more.
Just the only other thing is finance and
Finance.
operations.
I just had 2 notes to share. One, the superintendent highlighted, which is we have resumed the conversation with the facilities subcommittee around the capital budget requests of the city. And we'll be bringing our request to this body on the January 26th meeting. So we're looking at the plans, the multi-year plans that we had made for our buildings and grounds. We're considering the merger and the different impacts on the different schools, and also soliciting input into what our priorities ought to be for next year. So that is an ongoing conversation now, with a presentation coming on the 26th. And I did just want to note, speaking of our capital, we have completed the installation of our 2 new generators, one at Bates and one in the parking lot at Collins. So you might see that on your way out tonight, and we are very grateful for that.
That concludes my comments.
All right. Subcommittee reports. So we have the subcommittee assignments for this year. The subcommittee assignments are in the meeting materials, but I'll share for the benefit of the community. Our subcommittee chairs for buildings and grounds is Member Bias. For curriculum is Member Miranda. For finance is Member Hoffman. For personnel is Member Cornell. And for policy is Member Stott. Are there subcommittee reports to be offered? I don't think there's one from Buildings and Grounds from Member Miranda.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Assistant Deputy Superintendent Elizabeth, for highlighting that. There were really two things that we discussed that I thought was important to bring here tonight. One of them was we discussed some terms and conditions for applications with facility requests. And an example of one of the bullets was, as I'll quote it, the visiting organization or entity shall be prohibited from using the name, trademark, trade, name, logo, or likeness of the Salem Public Schools, which we thought was really important. And so thank the team for doing that. And then the other item was what Elizabeth had already mentioned. And so I just wanted to highlight that the emphasis that I heard in that meeting was really focusing on gaining a more clear understanding of facility needs, especially with Bentley considering the significant underinvestment over time. And so one of the things we learned is that Bentley had a full facilities, which we've known, had a full facilities assessment conducted in 2018. And we might need to take a deeper look at the school, potentially another assessment to ensure that decisions do not further these inequities. And now Member Baez is the chair for Buildings and Grounds, but I will still be serving on that committee, which I'm excited about, and hoping that we can have further discussion around next steps in January. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. On the first point, just a question maybe for the superintendent or for, I guess, for Chris. Is our logo trademarked?
No. Our Salem Public Schools logo?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Member Cornell.
Member Miranda, I'm just wondering if you had a conversation about whether or not to include the new language about Salem Public Schools as a formal policy.
That's a great question. I think that came up, Elizabeth. Do you want to jump in here? But I don't remember where that conversation went.
We did discuss it as part of the rental process. We will be sharing an overview of guidelines for short-term renters of our facilities. And as Member Miranda mentioned, one of them is they cannot use Salem Public Schools images or logos and need to discuss how they reference us with the Director of Buildings and Grounds. So because we were including it in guidelines, I truthfully am not sure whether that is a policy consideration or not. The document within which it is shared is guidelines that we'll share with them. This is who you should call if something happens the day of. Sure. We expect you to leave the site the way you found it, that kind of thing. So it's in that document.
Okay. It might be something to include on a policies agenda, just to have a discussion about whether or not the policies carry legal weight. So whether or not that is a good way to reinforce the language in the contracts, because this is, I think, going to continue to come up for us.
Yep.
Can I add something to that, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Just wanted to add, I think there was a conversation with our attorney as well around that. But yes, totally agree and would love to see something like that have a bit more teeth.
Any further subcommittee reports? Seeing none. Motions and resolutions? Seeing none. Any announcements? Do you want to announce what you're doing on Friday afternoon?
I was going to leave that up to you, Mayor.
I don't.
You don't want to make an announcement? Well, the mayor.
Super excited to be jumping into the Atlantic Ocean
Yep.
on behalf of Mental Makeover.
I'm looking.
And I invite all the school committee members who wish to join us to do so.
I'm going to cheer you on.
Okay.
And I'd like Miss Miranda to give me some tips ahead of that because I've never done it before, and I want to be at work on Monday too. So.
Oh, I've never done it. So.
Miss Bray.
Oh, I meant the different Miranda here. Oh.
Oh, got
Oh,
it.
do you have tips, school committee member?
I
Miranda,
do
too?
not. Don't do it.
That ship has sailed. Any further announcements? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Member Cornell,
Second.
seconded by Member Hoffman. Under discussion, seeing none, roll call vote. Member Stott,
Yes.
Member Cornell,
Yes.
Member Bias,
Yes.
Member Hoffman,
Yes.
Member Miranda,
Yes.
and myself, yes, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.